Hey Boo Buddies, Anya here, and today I am taking my quarter coloring page that I set up in September and I'm turning it into some paintings because I want you all to see what I see in my head and not just the scribbles on the page at the before. So I've got my Winsor&Newton Grayscale palette that I keep separate, and I'm going to be adding two extra colors. The first is a Doxy Violet and the other is a Indigo, and those are going to be added to my grayscale palettes just to give a little bit extra. So as you can see, I've already taped down my paper and I am just going to add a little extra because why not? I'm extra, we need extra. So just to kind of give it a little bit extra over the margins that I've taped down, I am cutting out a little place where I've already sketched in the best I can the same design that is in my notebook, my coloring page for my September setup. And so I have got both these pictures taped down at the same time to my drawing board because I'm going to paint them at the same time, and I'm using the same color scheme, so to make sure that when I make the washes in the palette, make sure that everything matches. So I'm just gonna do them all at the same time, and also probably because I like to drive myself crazy. If you have seen any of my previous painting videos, you know that I tend to do washes with a round brush, which is always wrong, and I always say so, and this time I've remembered to use a flat wash brush to do a wash, and I'm just going to wet my page and fill up my brush. And as you can see, I've got my first gray mixed in with the lavender or the violet color to give it that nice, and it's going to match what was on the drawing in the notebook. And then I'm going to do the moon in the palest gray with a round brush. See, now it's time to use the round brush and not the flat brush. And then there's no sky in the second painting, so the second painting will just have to wait. You'll just have to wait for the second painting. We're just going to let this dry a little bit. Okay, now it's time to do the ground, and I've got a nice dark muted gray that I think matches what I did in the notebook pretty well. And of course, now that I've finished off the wash on the first painting, it's time. Second painting, it's time. And you're all ground, so you're gonna get a nice thick wash. I had to do this one a couple times because my wash was starting to run out, and I had to remake it so that it wasn't watery and it would actually match what we did in the first painting. And yes, so as you can see, I did not care about going over my sketch, and there's a reason for that. Aha. And so before I get there, I'm going to do cat. I'm going to do cat in watercolor and not in marker. Oh my goodness. We have all agreed that cat should never be colored with marker from here on out. And so I mixed some of the indigo into the same wash that I did for the ground to make cat stand out a bit more and also give it a bit more of a organic life feel and less of a shadowy groundness that was what we were going for with the gray wash. And I love how expressive and detailed you can get with gray, and like just a slight bit of color can change everything. So cat's eyes are the only thing that got actual color that weren't in my palette because I forget that cat's eyes need to stand out. And cat has a pink nose because gray cat, green eyes, pink nose. And yeah, just gonna add some texture now that they have dried a bit, and we'll give them a bit more of a fur-like feel with the same color, just done in a layer, and also to give some depth to the body shape and the head and what's going on. Yes, and then it'll be time for the fun to start. Okay, now it's time for fun time. We are switching from watercolor to gouache, everyone's favorite crossword puzzle word to spell. I am using 3 colors and 3 colors only, and I showed you the wrong ones. I'm using primary yellow and cadmium orange, and then I showed my tube of white, and I didn't use my tube of white. I used my black, and those are the 3 colors that I am using in the rest of this painting. And so just a little bit of yellow where I want a little bit of highlight to show through, and then back in with the orange. And then to get the brown and green color to finish off the pumpkins for their details and shadings, it is the 3 colors mixed together, and that is how you get that pumpkin-y brown and green color. That's it. That's how it's done. And then you just let the different shades of yellow and mixed yellow and orange come through to give it that nice organic pumpkin spirally vine thing that happens with pumpkin stems. And I love it. Yes, I do. So much fun. Okay, so now that we've got some pumpkins going, I'm going to take just straight black and do the tree and make it all nice and spooky and twirly and do all of that. Yes, it shall be fun. And then finish off the pumpkins in the second painting. I went back and forth on whether or not I wanted a solid black for the tree, or if I wanted to let some of the gray and white show through to give it a bark-like texture. And I think I ended up finding a happy medium between the 2 ideas of it being solid in shadow, dark tree, and still letting some of that texture that naturally occurs with the paint just come through. Yes, and the secret of doing the curlicues and getting them all nice and round, if you can tell, is you start at the end, and then you go to the other end, and then you meet them in the middle, and now you know the secret, and you now can do fancy eyeliner all by yourself, or curly painting trees, and you learned that here from me. Yes, I take full credit. And while we let Mr. Tree dry and get all nice and solid, and maybe add a little bit more shading to the pumpkins, we're going to do the exact same thing and make these pumpkins look like those pumpkins, and just bigger, and same process, yellow and then orange and then mixing and then adding the black to the mix to get that green and brown color for the stem and shading details. And yeah, I just adore how simple these pumpkins are to do, and they're so satisfying because they just take on a very realistic shading very quickly, and I love it so much. I cannot express. I'm just going to start rambling if I don't stop talking. that is what I envisioned in my head. That is what I wanted this to look like in my notebook, and I know it doesn't look like that yet, but it will when I finish all my goals and color everything in. And of course now it's time for the fabulous, oh so satisfying removal of tape. Never get tired of the removal of tape, and see how those little extras came out. So that pumpkin one probably didn't cut it as far as I ought to have. Maybe I'll fix that later. Maybe I'll just leave it as a nice little flaw in the painting. But I hope you guys can now kind of get an idea of sometimes when my journal stuff looks a little simple, there's a plan, there's an interaction, and something that will keep going. And that's why I do them a little simple, is so that I have a reason to keep coming back and filling them in and playing with them, so that it's eventually they'll look like something like this. And I had a lot of fun doing these paintings, inspired by my bullet journal. And I would love to see if you guys get inspired by things in your journal, and if you do, you should post them on Instagram and tag me so that I can send you lots of hearts and likes for being awesome and doing your thing. And yeah, so I hope you found inspiration in your journal and in my paintings, and maybe try some things out for yourself this spooky season. And I will see you in the next one, Poo Buddies.